Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our last video on KRSchannel. That's right. From this location, that is. Yes, this is my studio. That was my office. Everything. This is the last video from here, man. It's only getting up and up and up from here on out. So yes, this is my last video. I wanted to shoot outside near the lake, right in front of our house, which you usually see in my backyard in some of the videos that I've shot before. But it's so bright that the camera, the overexposure is just too much. And we are supposed to leave for our new place by, I think, 5 or 6. So yeah, it's time crunch. So today we are doing our Jupiter transit video. And today we're going to be doing Jupiter transit part C, which is about understanding transit of Jupiter based on the houses that Jupiter rules in your horoscope. So when you read the transit of any planet, forget even Jupiter, I mean, you can take Moon and Sun. One of the parts that any astrologer would look at is what house is Jupiter ruling in your horoscope. Because Jupiter rules the sign of Sagittarius, okay, which is a real house. He also rules the sign of Pisces, which is like his vacation house. And in your horoscope, somewhere, Jupiter is ruling this two signs of Sagittarius and Pisces. And so we need to see in your horoscope how this Jupiter will react every year when it goes through a certain sign. So that is important to understand, because based on the sign that it rules, it will either be great benefic, because Jupiter is a natural benefic planet, right? It's a natural benefic. It's about wisdom, it's about knowledge, it's about morals, it's about, following the righteous path. But then Jupiter might rule a neutral house in your horoscope. Neutral house can be like second house, third house, 11th house. It can rule the 7th house. Neutral places. Then Jupiter can be great benefic, like it can rule the 5th, 9th, ascendant. It can rule the 10th house. Then Jupiter can also wreak havoc, because it can rule houses like 6th, 8th, and 12th house. But again, you cannot just see if Jupiter is ruling your havoc houses. You have to also be able to understand how much havoc it's going to bring in your horoscope. Is it on the Richter scale 10, or is it just 4 havoc? So all of these things we have to understand. And if you do not know what sign Jupiter plays in your horoscope, what houses it's ruling in your horoscope, so you can see where it's transiting currently in 2015, all of this information, check out the links here and check out my full astrological report, including my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects of the Speed of Light, including all my consultations at this link. So in astrology, we have names for different houses, like I told you, the 3 levels, super benefic, neutral, and just like, bad. But then certain houses have certain energies, and this is something that I provide in my basic of my books in Astrology at the Speed of Light, or you can even beginning of my videos, in my beginning videos, you will see this called the type of houses. Like there's something called Kendra houses. It's that inner plate you see on your birth chart, the square, the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th house. These are Kendra houses. These are the pillar of your life. You will always rely on these 4 houses more than any other house in order to fulfill your basic needs. This is why government in any country is known as Kendra Sarkar. If you especially watch Indian news, whenever they talk about Indian government, they call it Kendra Sarkar, because it's the government that controls major aspects of our life. Then comes Trikona houses, 1st, 5th, and 9th house. These are the houses of our wisdom. It's of our education, what we're here to learn in this life, and perhaps use that learning to benefit ourselves through the karma. So 9th house is dharma, 10th house is karma, right? Then you have the artha houses, 2nd, 8th, 10th house, which is the houses of work, where you work to provide yourself with resources. How does your resources come from? It comes from the 2nd, 6th, and 10th house. Especially 2nd house is resources. 6th house is work, service. 10th house is pretty much your image, your profession, how people conceive you. Then you have moksha houses. You have the 12th, 4th, and 8th house where a person feels liberated. It's your private side of your world. 12th, 4th, and 8th house is all about privacy, things that are hidden underneath, or things behind the scenes, or things under closed doors. This is our private world. Then you have the Kama house, the 3rd, 7th, and 11th house. Houses of desires, how our desires are manifesting. And then you have 6th, 8th, and 12th house, which is the Dushtana houses. These are the houses of struggle. These are the houses of transformation. So knowing these houses, we can see how Jupiter is going to affect in our horoscope. Whichever signs Sagittarius and Pisces are placed in, we're going to be dealing in Jupiter transit. Wherever houses that Jupiter is controlling, he's bringing those situations related to those houses in the house that it's transiting in. So let's say if Jupiter rules, let's start with the bad stuff. People are always like fearful of this. Like if Jupiter with the sign of Sagittarius, okay, which is his Multrikon sign, which is his home, controls the 6th house, which is a house of struggles, enemies, service. It's a house of social welfare, social reform, debts, and it rules, or if it rules the 8th house with his Sagittarius sign, death, life, births, transformation, revolution, hidden secrets, occult, mysticism. And if it rules the 12th house of losses, expenses, it's a house of enlightenment, moksha. So whenever Jupiter is ruling your bad houses, Jupiter is transiting, it does not mean throughout your life you're going to be suffering the greatest suffering in your life, because Jupiter is always just transiting, right? So it's always going to give you results of the 8th house. No. Jupiter will also be, remember, traveling in a certain sign. Okay? Like if Jupiter rules your sign of Sagittarius in the 8th house, and Jupiter is transiting your 3rd house, Jupiter is exalted in the 3rd house, which shows one can suddenly travel, suddenly move. It shows one can suddenly reap benefits through their younger siblings. Or your younger sibling might flourish in that time suddenly, because 8th house is of the sudden things. And here's another thing, like 8th house is a very mysterious house. No astrologer in the world can fully predict what is going to happen with the 8th house things. It's like a wormhole. Imagine like a black hole. We as scientists, or a normal scientist, not we as scientists, I wish I was a scientist, but we or normal scientists would be like, look, black hole is something your body can rip apart and time will slow down. Nothing escapes black hole. But these are hypotheses. These are like educated theories. Nobody has really went into the black hole. And if they did, they probably won't tell us in the government. But what if black hole, you go in there and you come out on the other hand, which is nirvana? So what is now happening? What you thought a black hole is not what's happening. It's completely of its own making. So 8th house operates the same way. 8th house, as astrologers, we can make pretty good judgments. That, well, this is this sign, it's placed here, this is what transiting. Yes, bad event can happen, but 100% of the time, no astrologer is going to be marking that. At close, they might come to 80%. If astrologer comes to 70%, beautiful. But it's always wrong and right, wrong and right. It's only your educated guess that can see if this is nirvana or if this is going to be held very broad, it's going to be stretched. So that's what you got to understand. If Jupiter rules your 6th house, the malefic houses, and it transits a certain house, it can either help you pay your debt off, or it can increase that debt. Like let's say if Jupiter rules the 6th house with this Multrikon sign, and Jupiter transits the 2nd house. So 2nd house is a house of wealth, what our assets and resources are. What can happen? You might take a loan. Let's say I want a loan. I need to buy a car. So what's going to happen? You're going to have to borrow more money to get those assets. So it's not a bad thing. So if an astrologer says, oh, you're going to get into more debt, in this year. Well, you got to understand what type of a debt. Perhaps you're getting debt to get your PhD so you can work in Google and NASA. That's not a bad thing. If you get into debt, buying luxury cars and clothes and, watches and this and that, then yeah, it's a bad debt because it's not doing anything for you after a while. Or if, you may need the debt to start your own business. You're starting a restaurant. I mean, that's a good debt. You're doing something in your life now. You're finally taking those big chances. So this is how Jupiter will manifest in the 6th house. 12th house comes expenses. Again, Jupiter transits your 12th house. What can happen here is that you may have to dish out a lot of money. So you may find yourself in a prediction where, oh my God, Jupiter's going to transit my 12th house. I'm going to be spending out a lot of money, man. This is not good. What is the remedy? Perhaps you do not want to take that remedy. Why? Because if, let's say, you buy a property or buy a house, Jupiter transits your 12th house. That means you are putting your money out for down payment. A lot of expenditure is happening. You're fixing the backyard. You're painting the house that you bought. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That's a good thing. You got your house. And you're making it look beautiful. And you're dishing out your own money. So you have to really look at it in a way, is this transit of that's going to happen in your case, it can be either good or bad. You can tell a person, you're going to be borrowing money in this time period. We can see it. Just make sure you borrow it for the right reasons. You're going to be spending a lot of time in this, a lot of money in this time period. Please do not waste your money in useless things. Don't buy liability, buy assets. Buy a house, don't buy a car. So this is how once you start thinking like this, you will see the beauty of transit. And remember, Jupiter, yes, I have seen many cases where people go through Mahadashas of Jupiter, right? Jupiter rules the 8th house. The 16-year period of Jupiter can wreak havoc on a person. But here's the thing, with transit and with Mahadasha of Jupiter, Jupiter naturally, even if it rules the house that is most malefic, and let's say Jupiter is in the worst condition, it will still won't hurt you. You know what happens in the time? What Jupiter says is this: imagine Jupiter as this pure figure with a tear in his eye in front of you. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to open this Pandora box of malefic things. I know my time is here. I don't want to do this to you. But what Jupiter will do, look, I'm going to protect you as much as possible from the things that are going to come out of this 8th house. So Jupiter period, you had to struggle for money. You had to struggle for education. You had to struggle in your marriage. You couldn't get married. But if you really look at that 16-year period, and if you kept a journal day by day how you felt, you will see that that Jupiter period kept you protected. And even if, let's say, a person says, well, this person passed in their Jupiter Mahadasha in the 8th house. Well, then again, you got to look at that scientific view. Is death really a bad thing? Is death really a good thing? Because what if death, you come out on the other side like, oh my God, what was I doing in this 3-dimensional realm? Oh my God, thank you, Jupiter, for releasing me. We do not know. So you see, we have fearful because we are afraid to dive into that black pool of 8th house. But if you read our ancient books that our sages have written, especially Atharvaveda, Rig Veda, which I haven't read, I've only listened to the audio. And after a while, if you don't listen, most of the things you forget, but you realize that there is other lokas after death that the soul progresses to. So whether you die, like I am at that point where if I know I'm gonna die, I'm like, man, I'll be released off this whole mess in this planet. Great, let's do this. So you got to understand astrology in those ways. But remember, Jupiter always protects. Jupiter never harms. It is unconditionally has to release it because this is the laws of the source energy. It says you're going to have to open the Pandora box, and he has to. The Jupiter has no control, but Jupiter has its own boundaries of power that it can protect you with. So transit-wise, you have to understand whenever Jupiter transits a certain house, look at where the signs are placed. It's going to give you results of those houses through the house that is traveling in. So if it rules the second house of wealth, 11th house of gains, transits the fourth house, what can happen? You can gain through your property, through your mother. You may get gains of physical property. Your hopes, wishes, and desires will come true either through your home, somebody in your family, or through your mother. Simple. Jupiter rules your 9th house and 12th house. Jupiter transits your 5th house. 9th house, it rules it with this Mool Trikon sign Sagittarius. 12th house with Pisces. So Jupiter is quite a good benefic planet. Things can happen. Remember, dishing out money can be good. So when 5th house comes, your children may go to foreign lands to learn something. They will get education in foreign lands. 5th house comes, it may take you yourself to foreign places to learn. You may attain gains through speculative business, either in foreign lands or through traveling to a distant place. And remember that Jupiter-Saturn double transit, where you can definitely see something will happen. If Jupiter rules your ascendant, okay, so let's say your Sagittarius ascendant, Jupiter goes over your 10th house in Virgo. What happens is a person will be recognized in their work, okay, through the details that they have taken upon themselves. Like, for example, you are at work, you're a lawyer, okay? First house is you, the fame. 10th house is your work. So what happens is you are reading some contract and you figure out that the other company that your company is trying to do business with, they're going to screw them. And you saw this little detail that everybody missed. Virgo, detail. So looking into detail will make you recognize and will give you praises. So you see how Jupiter can work easily with this. And remember, the protection thing, Jupiter rules your 8th house, okay? Transits your 4th house. So what is it's going to happen? And there's another technique that I've showed actually in the original transit video, where if Jupiter's transiting over a certain planet, and if the dispositor of that is somewhere placed, it'll give results of that. And I'll redo that again. But Jupiter transiting your 4th house can show suddenly Jupiter wants you to pay attention to your heart, to your lungs, go to a doctor and get checked up. And suddenly doctor's like, you know what? Yeah, you've got this problem. Let's take care of it. It's a good thing you came now because we can still fix it. So when people feel like they're scared of Jupiter coming into their, first house, oh my God, what's going to happen to my health? No, remember, Jupiter's first duty is to protect you. The first thing, so if Jupiter transits your ascendant, you're suddenly feeling like sick. You're getting dizzy and you're like, oh my God, Jupiter is going to take me away. No, Jupiter is giving you a warning, signal, go to the doctor now. And if you do it on the very first indication of Jupiter, you will be saved. Jupiter's doctor will say, yeah, you've got this isn't a problem, but you know what? It's at a very early stage. We'll take care of this. Bam. And then when you come out of it, you'll be like, oh, thank you, Jupiter. If it wasn't for your transit over my house, I would have never detected this. Like there was a news. And I think I gave my example in the last one too, where a shark bit his back, okay? Ripped his back open. And what happens is it was exposed to the lungs and everything. And so when doctor was taking care of him, they actually discovered cancer in his kidney or lungs. I'm not sure. Kidneys, yes. And the guy was so thankful to the shark bite because they caught the cancer so early because there was no symptoms. He said, I would have gone to get my kidneys checked, but because of the shark bite, that person, life is saved. They took care of the cancer. You can Google this news. Shark bite reveals cancer. I think you can just type it on Google in US. So these are the things that can happen with Jupiter transit. Okay? So guys, this is my analysis of Jupiter in house rulership with transit. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. Again, if you want to know where your Jupiter is transiting, all my books, reports, consultations, for that, check out the links here. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, this is KRS signing off now from my last location. And finally, I will be at my permanent location at my new house. Okay? See ya.